Hello, and thank you for inviting me today to share my story and journey and how it relates to the ETT Electrical Shock campaign. My name is John Knoll, and I am from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Some listening to this might still believe that if your heart doesn't stop after you survive an electrical shock, that you have survived. Unfortunately, that isn't true. Your journey might only have started, and there might be some major changes in your life that will happen. Today, I hope to bring awareness around the long-term consequences that can develop 1 to 5 years later, how life-changing those can be, and how easily this can all be avoided. My story starts, I am sure, like most of yours. I got into this trade at a young age, 18, when safety wasn't what it is today. My first shock was a day, maybe two into the job. We were taught to put our hands in little boxes with live wires and shove fish tape up conduit around live bus bars. Maybe like me, when you were young, you saw or played games around electrical shock. Possibly a journey person might have turned the power on when you were working on a circuit and attempt to scare you with a small buzz instead of a big buzz. Or had a mate turn on a switch as a joke. Maybe you just slipped and rode the current, then found out after telling your buds that it happens to the best of us. Well, did you know that the human body operates off milliamps and millivolts? That is exponentially smaller than the electrical systems we work on. In my 20s, I started to wonder why I was experiencing arthritis and fatigue and all these diffuse symptoms. And, well, here's the thing that we all know about electricity. Voltage is only part of the equation. Much like we have learned the effects of harmonics can have on the equipment we install in ways we never expected, we are now learning that electrical shocks can cause a sequelae of 40 plus symptoms to develop within the human body. These fall into three categories: physical, psychological, and neurological. They range from memory loss, arthritis, fatigue, depression, anxiety, chronic pain, contracture, and honestly, too many to list off. So I have provided a list to be shared after this pre-recorded presentation is completed. These symptoms can develop 1 to 5+ years later due to a delayed cellular death that can happen within your cells. This injury presents in a similar pattern with the injured in various degrees, and that is why the research started. Major burn centers around the world started noticing mostly young men at the time, due to the trades, men who first sought treatment for electrical shock, returning with a diffuse pattern of symptoms. And the research still needs a lot more research. It needs funding. But what currently do they believe is the main cause of this injury? Well, it's theorized to occur because of a process called electroporation. Electroporation is where soluble membranes around your cells are opened up by electrical current and magnetic fields produced by that current. Once the membrane opens up, it is difficult to close. The body often expends a great deal of energy having to repair the cells, and eventually those cells may die, depleting other cells of nutrients around them, leading to a cascading cellular death within an injured body. When the cells regrow, signals that were meant for a specific muscle spread diffusely throughout others, creating a never-ending cycle of contraction. For me, this was approximately 2 years after being held in 2017, when everything I had experienced before really got bad. Because it was in 2017, I was in another country. I was walking down the road, and it was the most excruciating pain of my life at that time, and was not the last time I would experience this, with each time getting worse. It was like every muscle was pulling against each other in my legs, like they were being crushed and ripped apart, all while being lit on fire. There were moments where I had to use my upper torso to drag myself, as my legs were all twisted, and walking was extremely difficult and painful. I thought of ending my life many times that year, as I spent many painful hours alleviating all the myofascial pain. And later that year, even though I had owned and ran my own electrical company for almost a decade, I started to have to assign tasks like scheduling work for others to complete. I started to find this difficult for myself to do, often forgetting conversations. Later in that year is when I experienced similar pain to before. However, the third time this happened was the worst. I was in my home, stood on my legs, it spread throughout my body, spread up my brain. I fell to the ground, curled, screaming in agony. When I woke up, I was forever a changed man. It wasn't until a few years later I was eventually diagnosed with electrical injury by our top medical expert in Canada when I was told about the research that was happening across my country. And my journey to raise awareness and seek support started. Today, I take a handful of medicine every morning and night. If not, the pain creeps up. I also spend thousands on massage, chiropractor, and osteopath services and attend hot yoga regularly. I can't go more than 48 hours without attending hot yoga before the contracture I experience throughout becomes painfully noticeable. For those of you that haven't done hot yoga, the focus is all about stretching. Why is this important? Because contracture is the stiffening and hardening of muscles, ligaments, and tendons, affecting all of my bodily functions, including digestive functions, while exponentially increasing the pain and other symptoms I experience. So what is the easiest way to avoid this injury? It's simple. Lockout, tagout, because you can't receive a shock when there is no voltage present. Along with using proper PPE when you must do testing on live voltage or circumstances as electricians where we know we have to work live. But that PPE must include rubber insulated gloves with leather protectors or an improved alternative, along with electrically insulated footwear. Last and most importantly, a full understanding of the hazard that you are about to face so you can properly assess the full hazards and all the risks with the task you are about to perform. I know this is a short video, but I hope it has provided you with some useful information you will teach, share, and spread. If you would like to know more about my story, about this injury, please take the time to Google Electrical Injury Day of Recognition. Thanks to the dedicated IBEW members, along with the Canadian Electrical Contractors Association across Canada, this injury was recently recognized in the Canadian House of Commons, and we are starting to see meaningful change here in Canada in the electrical safety standards, and hopefully one day, meaningful support for men and women like myself. Because currently, much like where you are, there is no help. This is an invisible injury that no neuroimaging scans can currently identify. So before you start work next time, remember my story, because it only takes a second to change the rest of your life. There is no cure for this injury, and despite everything and public health care in my country, all my medical expenses I still pay for myself. I am no longer a Sparky. Daily tool work makes this injury unlivable. So I have found meaningful work in a project management role, electrical design, and drafting work. Electrical injury doesn't mean your life is over. It does mean your life may never be the same though. So take the time, assess the hazard, wear the PPE, teach the apprentices. Thank you.